Is localization delaying your UI release schedule? Watch this video to learn how automating manual processes and including tailored validation checks can streamline your UI pipeline.
So it's really getting that buy-in from the DevOps teams to invest in standardization so that they can then invest in automation and reduce the manual steps that are involved in their DevOps lifecycle. If we have access to the client's Git repository, then we can just simply plug in one of our connectors, and there's a sort of direct link then between the client's DevOps pipeline and our localization pipeline.
Recently, we worked with one of my clients to introduce repo access and these push and pull scripts that we've been talking about, and we were able to reduce the turnaround time from around 14 days to 7 days, so a reduction by half, which was a really positive outcome. And another key area for my clients is minimizing localization related code freezes. So code freezes being periods where the code cannot be changed, and unwanted code freezes can have a real negative impact on DevOps productivity and can be, a big issue for our clients. So minimizing this, is really crucial for us. In some cases, some of our clients, when working with their old vendors, had code freezes imposed on them in the window where translation was taking place. Sometimes these code freezes lasted for up to a week, which of course can have a real impact on the DevOps team.
So typically the reason that you would want a code freeze is to avoid merge conflicts. So if you have people working on the same resources at the same time, and they both then try and reconcile those updated bits of content, that tends to lead to merge conflicts in the Git repository. So we want to avoid that. And the way that Rubrik approaches this is that just before we push a delivery of human translated resources, we take a pull of the latest source assets, which may have changed a little bit during the translation window. And those minor changes we will put through a machine translation engine so that we can integrate those rapidly and ship back the final delivery, which is going to consist 99% of human translation, and just the recent changes are going to have temporary machine translations just for the current release. And then in the next release, we'll take those machine translations and replace them with human translations. So it's a way that we can always be ready to ship and release and merge in the resources without any hassle.
To make this happen, we work with each of our clients to agree an appropriate cadence for handoff and delivery, and this does vary across our clients. It depends on what their needs are. It can be a weekly cadence, it could be a delivery every other week, or it could be monthly cadence. It really depends on the client's needs. There may be times they need an ad hoc delivery as well, and we need to always be responsive. Once we do have an agreed handoff delivery, we need to make sure that we adhere to this and to make sure we become a seamless part of the developer's lifecycle.
We want to reduce frustration and reduce effort as much as possible. We find that, especially with new clients, DevOps teams experience a lot of frustration with localized deliverables. We want to be able to make sure that the DevOps team can pick those up, check them over, confirm that everything is as expected, the file integrity is intact, and they can check them in seamlessly. If we can manage that, then there's no impact to the release schedule. And we find that that really supports our DevOps teams to maintain their own processes and ensure everybody's happy.
The ideal situation for us is if we have access to the client's Git repository where localization assets are managed. And if we have that direct access, then we have the best transparency for how those resources are evolving over time. And it helps us to maintain quality and integrity of those assets.
How many times we say this to our clients is because it's so important. It's a message that we repeat constantly to all our clients. We need the full file set in each handoff. And when we talk about full file sets, we do mean both source files and any target files that exist. It allows us to carry out a more robust set of QA checks.
What we try and do is to be focused on your localization resources. So we aim to build a transparent picture of how your multilingual assets are evolving over time. And in order to do this, as Julia was saying, is we need a full picture of what is going on with all of the assets. So receiving a complete set of content in each handoff is very important, so we can analyze and ensure that consistency and accuracy and integrity over the long term. Our connectors, and they have some quite sophisticated version control features which are tailored for multilingual content. So we're really analyzing how multilingual content is evolving over time in all languages, and we want things to be consistent across all of the markets. So that's what our tools are designed to analyze, and will surface any potentially suspect changes that are occurring in the code base, and a human can then go in and check that those anomalies are fixed, or maybe they're intentional. We want to catch problems before they become a blocker downstream. And yes, typically the kinds of things that it's surfacing are not going to be obvious at first glance. They might not be obvious from a linguistic perspective, and we'll only find out that there's a problem after the product has gone to be built or even published, and we don't want to discover the changes at that stage. We want to try and pick up on them as early as possible.
To talk a little bit more about that in practice, for my client, we conduct thorough checks before translation starts. So not only are we checking the integrity and structure of the files, but we're also looking for, to ensure that the content is ready for translation. For example, by identifying concatenation or poor segmentation issues and content which may not be localization friendly. Then once translation is complete, we also carry out tailored automated QA and consistency checks, not only to look for issues with the structure of the files or anything which may prevent check-in, but also to look for version control issues and unexpected regression.